Zach, what do I do when a video goes viral? How do I milk that for all it's worth?
Alrighty, folks. Well, welcome to today's free training brought to you by Business Video School. I'm excited to be here again. We're going to be starting here in just a few more minutes. So as you join us, if you want to chime in with where you're tuning in from in the chat, it's always fun to see what part of the country or in some cases world we're joined from. So if you want to jump down to the chat and let us know where you're tuning in from, I would appreciate it. We're going to get started here. Give it another 60 seconds or a minute and a half or so, and then we'll get the ball rolling. Just to give you a quick overview, we're going to be talking about why video works and 4 easy strategies that you should try. Now, the idea behind this particular presentation or training is to really help you understand, this shift that we're currently in the middle of. Why it's happening, what is the benefit to transitioning to video? So if you haven't started yet, you're going to start to see why there probably should be some urgency to do so. But then maybe more importantly, I'm going to give you some strategies that you can implement. I'm going to give them to you in the order in which you should implement them, and try to make this as easy and straightforward as possible. There is a lot in here, right? So we're going to cover all kinds of good information for you today as we go through this training. So thank you for those of you that have chimed in. I see a few people. We got, Ventura, California, Joplin, Missouri. All right, cool. I'm up in St. Louis, Missouri as well. So good to see some fellow Missourians here. Very cool. Well, we're going to start here in just a few more seconds. The last question I'll ask, this also helps me know if you're paying attention, is I am curious to hear how many of you have already started using video, let's say on a monthly basis. So at least once a month, you're making video content. So if you just made 1 or 2 videos, that's okay. That's great. It's a good start. But I'm curious if anybody here is already doing this on at least a monthly basis or more often, because that'll help me understand kind of where your experience level is. If everybody here is already making videos every single month, we can probably we can adjust the presentation just slightly. All right. All right. So it looks like at least one person is making video at least once a month so far. So if you don't mind chiming in with that down there in the chat, that is helpful as we get into this. All right, let's go ahead and get started here. So quickly, if you haven't seen me before, my name is Nick Niehaus. I'm the head trainer and co-founder of Business Video School. And what we do is we teach real estate agents how to communicate through video, how to use video in their business. And so what I'm going to be going over today is a bit of an overview as to why video is such a powerful tool, why it is quickly replacing other tools, and why it's something that we all need to be using at this point moving forward. And then I'm going to give you 4 different video strategies that you can implement in the order that you should consider implementing them. All right. Let's see. No, not at all. No videos. Okay. So we got some people making videos, some people not. That's pretty common. No problem whatsoever. So let's start here. First thing I'm going to talk about is the fact that video was inevitable. We were always going to end up with video communication, right? I mean, we've seen this in science fiction for hundreds of years at this point. It makes a lot of sense, right? It was sort of a natural destination where we would eventually arrive. And the reason for that is that every single form of human communication we've ever invented has always been an attempt to replace or replicate or simulate a face-to-face conversation, right? So if we go back thousands and thousands, probably tens of thousands of years, I don't know exactly when in human history we started to develop the ability to speak to each other, but it's been quite a while, obviously, right? And what do we get when we have a face-to-face conversation, right? So for many thousands of years, we started making these noises and they started to mean certain things. And eventually we developed the ability to make a set of sounds with my face hole, right? And for you to understand what those noises mean, right? They're symbolic. They have certain meanings to them. They're not just random sounds. Like my dog sort of makes random sounds, right? She barks at the door when she wants me to open it. Humans can be more specific, right? So that's a huge strength, right? That allows humans to coordinate, to communicate, to cooperate with each other. And ultimately, that's what led to the building of civilization, right? If we didn't have language, we would not have been able to coordinate the way that we can. So language, communication, face-to-face chats are essential to what we are as human beings, right? So everything that we have, everything else, the other ways that we're able to talk to each other are based on that original form of communication, right? So what we've dealt with over the years, though, is that all of those are imperfect, right? They aren't a very good replacement for a face-to-face conversation. And the reason is that when we're face-to-face, we're able to engage all of our senses, right? Some are more important than others, obviously. So first of all, I can hear the person, right? That is essential. Got to be able to hear the person, right? Because the words they're saying, we need the words, right? That's the symbols. We need to be able to hear the symbols so we can interpret what they're saying. But there's also vocal inflection, right? There's emphasis. There's all these subtle parts of how our voices are used when we talk to someone, right? So having the ability to hear their voice more so than just reading the words means that we understand that person better, right? So obviously being able to hear them is a big deal. Being able to see them is probably an equally big deal, right? And this is a part of communication I think we overlook a lot, especially because now we are so used to communicating through text, right? In fact, text has replaced, in a lot of cases, phone calls, right? So we don't think about the fact that when you see someone, you're having a totally different experience, right? You can watch their facial expressions, right? You can watch their body language. You can see their emotions a lot more clearly because we use our faces, I mean, our voices too, but we use our faces probably as the primary way of showing someone how you feel, right? You can look at a person and instantaneously have a pretty good idea of whether or not they're in a good or bad mood, or if they're angry or happy or things like that, right? So we can see them, we can hear them. Now, you can get the other three senses too. They're not as important though, right? You can touch the person, so you can shake their hand, you can give them a hug. That's going to help a little bit, right? You can smell the person. It's probably not always a good thing, right? But it is technically something you can engage. And then I didn't list taste the other person, but when you are in person with another human, you hypothetically could taste them, but I really hope you're not doing that during your in-person meetings, right? So I only included the four that are sort of within the realm of reason, so to speak, right? So let's move on from there. Let's talk about what happens beyond that, right? As we evolve, we get to a point where we say, look, face-to-face, that's great. That's the gold standard. Anytime I can get face-to-face, that's what I want to do. But I want to be able to talk to somebody who's not here right now, right? So we invented the written word, right? We started writing things down. We eventually developed the printing press, and we developed all these abilities to share the written word. However, if you, like me, have ever had a conversation through text or email where you misunderstood the other person and you thought they were angry or you didn't understand quite what they were getting at in their text-based communication, we know how flawed that can be, right? Because it strips out ultimately really almost all of the senses. I mean, technically you are using your sight, but you're not seeing the person, right? You're just seeing the words. And they've done research that shows that only 10% of the emotion is understood when we read something, right? When we watch a video, it's 95%. Think about the difference there, right? So a couple days later, if you ask somebody, hey, that text you got the other day, you know, what was the emotion behind that? What was that person trying to say to you versus a video? There's going to be that much of a difference between that person's ability to understand it. And we often downplay emotion, right? Emotion is literally how we make decisions. We make decisions based on emotion, and we justify decisions based on logic, right? So as much as the words are important, that's the logic part of it. When we use text-based communication, we get basically close to zero of the emotion. And that is a real problem, right? It's such a problem. We invented emojis to deal with it, right? Emojis help us show emotion in our text-based communication. So we have written word, then we got the phone call, right? The phone changed things substantially. Then eventually we got email, we got text, et cetera, et cetera. We ended on video, right? But the thing is, and you probably already sort of looked at the slide here and understood this, the thing video gets us that we do not get with anything else is we engage the two most important senses. We can see the person and we can hear them, all right? And what that means is that this kind of communication is extremely close to a face-to-face conversation. So why does that matter? That is the one form of communication that's actually gotten us really this close at this point to what it feels like to sit down face to face, right? This is why this is so important, okay? There's a part of your brain that is dedicated to recognizing human faces. It's called the Fusiform Gyrus. And this part of your brain lights up when you see a face. This is why it's literally easier to remember somebody's face than their name, right? You've probably done that. You've gone to an event or a party and you see somebody and you know them, but you can't remember their name, right? Or you know you've seen them before, but maybe you've never actually met them, right? Your brain remembers their face. This is an important part of our mind, right? This is one of the root parts of how we build relationships. There's literally a principle, a psychological principle called the familiarity principle. And it basically states that the more often you see someone, the more you automatically like them, right? Because this part of your brain keeps turning on and saying, you know what, I've seen this person before. And then the second time, hey, I've seen this person multiple times before. They must be somebody that I know, right? And you develop this familiarity. And even if you never talk to them, they will automatically start to like you more, right? And these are very instinctual things. These are parts of our brain that exist from thousands of years ago. And if you looked across the field and you saw a stranger, your brain needed to understand, hey, is this a stranger? Could they maybe try to kill me? Or is this somebody I've known for years that I can trust, right? So we know how important this stuff is. Well, where does that come into play when it comes to business, right? The thing is, this part of your brain is going to light up in two types of communication, face-to-face and video. That's it. It does not turn on when you do those other forms of communication, right? So if I send a text or I call you or any of the stuff, this part of that person's brain is not activating. So what that means is that when I communicate through video, that viewer's brain is telling them that they are talking to me, all right? That's not conscious. So it's not something that they're thinking, oh, I'm literally sitting in front of Nick and I'm talking to him right now. No, that's not how it works. But these non-conscious parts of their brain are activating and saying, oh, hey, it's Nick and he's sitting here in front of me having a conversation, right? Well, what that leads to is really interesting. And this is where the power comes in for your business, right? Let me give you a little example here. And I hopefully apologize. I hope this isn't triggering for anybody, but this is Robin Williams, right? And Robin Williams passed away a few years ago. And when he died, I remember thinking to myself, like, this sucks. Like, I was sad. I was experiencing grief. And I did not understand why. I was thinking about it. I'm like, I didn't know Robin Williams. He's not my family member. I wasn't friends with him or anything. So like, why would I be sad? And what I realized over the subsequent years, as I started to understand more about video itself, was I had what's called a parasocial relationship with Robin Williams. All right. What happened was every weekend that I would go over to my grandparents and I would sit there with my cousins and I would watch Jumanji or Mrs. Doubtfire, my brain kept seeing him and kept thinking, hey, I see this guy every so often. He seems like a lot of fun. I must know him. Maybe he's my uncle or something, right? That's what my brain subconsciously was deciding. And so over the years, I got to really know, like, and trust him, right? So when he passed away, I was sad, and that really sort of shocked me a little bit. But what really sort of surprised me is I started to realize, you know what? For the first time in human history, we all have access to these tools, right? For a long time, it was just celebrities. It was just, people like Ryan Serhant, right? People that were able to get on TV. And those people were able to use these tools, these traditional tools of influence building to get us to know, like, and trust them, right? However, over the past 5 to 10 years, those tools have now become accessible to everyone, right? Which is why, for the first time in human history, you see people getting famous through things like social media, right? Some of the actors on the TV shows now didn't come up through the Disney system. They came up through YouTube, right? They created YouTube channels and through their own effort and their own, the design, they were able to become famous, right? Because they were able to use video. That's the tool that became accessible, right? Before social media incorporated video, you didn't see that many people turning into their own actors on TV as a result of their content, right? Once video became common on social media, that started happening very quickly, right? Which means we can all do the same thing. That's the part you have to understand, is that if I put video of myself in front of an audience of people, they're going to start to know, like, and trust me automatically, and they will become my customers. And it is different than other kinds of communication. That's the important part to understand, is that when I put video of myself out there in front of people, they are getting to know me in a way that they simply cannot through anything else other than me being there in person with them, right? That's all you got to think about. The next time you're questioning whether or not you should make a video or put this kind of content out there, you should ask yourself, are you trying to build relationships with people? Do you want to attract more business? Or are you trying to hide from them, right? Because other forms of content are becoming a way of hiding. If you are not getting on camera, you are not having the same kind of impact on the viewers, right? Now, that being said, and I hope that, maybe scares you a little because it's kind of supposed to, but I'm going to give you some good news here, right? Here's the good news. Most of us have been drastically overcomplicating this. We have been thinking about video in a way that is making it way more complicated than it needs to be. So here's my analogy. This is kind of what I think a lot of us have been inadvertently doing. And that is, let's say you have never lifted weights in your life. You go to the gym for the first time ever. You walk in the door, right? You look across the room, you see the biggest guy you've ever seen. He's got, freaking Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? Bodybuilder. He's lifting these big old heavy weights, doing all these complicated exercises. And you say, that's what I want to look like, right? That's the guy. He knows what he's doing. I'm going to go do that. So you walk over, you pick up the same weights, same workouts. What happens? You break your back, right? You tear a muscle. Something bad happens very quickly. You don't ever go to the gym again, right? Because you got burnt, right? You got hurt, literally physically in that case. Well, here's the thing. Most people hear that story and they go, but that's not how I would do it. I would go in and I'd pick up the lighter weights and I'd start with simpler exercises. Maybe I'd hire a trainer, right? And I would get started. And then over time, I'd work my way up to what the bodybuilder is doing. If you ever even want to get there, most people don't need to become a bodybuilder. They just need to put on a little bit of muscle, right? Well, here's the problem. This is exactly what we're doing with video. We're looking at people who have been doing this for years, who are extremely experienced, who are the equivalent of an established bodybuilder in the space of real estate. They have 1 million followers, all this kind of crazy stuff. We're seeing what they're doing and saying, I guess I need to do that same thing. I probably need to be making videos on YouTube. I probably need to be dancing on TikTok, right? And that's crazy. That's like walking to the gym and trying to imitate the bodybuilder, right? Instead, we should be asking ourselves, where did that person start? What were the first few videos they made? Were there any mistakes along the way we could avoid? Is there anything we can learn from in terms of what they did or didn't do as they were learning to do these things, right? And if we think of it that way instead, we're going to realize, oh, wow, there's a bunch of stuff that I just simply am not seeing, right? I didn't see that person's first 100 videos because they weren't that good, right? I only saw their videos once they'd made 300. Maybe I should go back to those earlier ones and see if I can make those, right? Oh, it turns out those are a lot easier, right? Because you're not trying to imitate something you don't have the skill to do, right? So that's what I'm going to show you how to do today. I'm going to show you how to start at the beginning and then work your way up as you go, right? So start simple, build on those strategies as you go, all right? So that's what I'm going to talk about here throughout the rest of the presentation is all of these strategies in the order that I think you should implement them, right? So before I click to the next slide, that's something I want you to make sure you understand. As I add strategies, you are not replacing the last one, okay? So the idea is not to say, okay, strategy number 2, now we're going to stop doing number 1. No, the idea is to continue doing number 1 and add number 2, right? Then continue 1 and 2 and add 3 and build on your progress as you go, because the idea here is that the first strategies are the easiest and they're going to allow you to get comfortable and confident doing video, and that's going to make the later strategies a lot simpler. All right, so here we go. Strategy number 1. Send one-to-one video messages. All right. What is a one-to-one video message? This is a message from you. It's a video of you sent to a single other person. Right. Is that intimidating? It might be a little bit, right? But that is the equivalent of picking up the little weights, not the big ones, right? We're only talking to one other person at a time. So there's no public performance issue, right? The message is going to be really simple. In fact, the ones we recommend you start with is a happy birthday video message, right? You want to know how to send a happy birthday video message? You go to Facebook, you look up the birthdays that day. Next to each person's name is a little Facebook Messenger button. You click on it, you click on the camera, you hit record, you record your message, and you hit send. It's literally that simple, right? You can send 5 to 10 of these every single day, and it'll take you 5 minutes, right? What do you say in that message? You go, hey, I saw it was your birthday. Hope you have an absolute great day. Enjoy yourself. Happy birthday. That's it, okay? You say whatever you want. It really doesn't matter. What you don't say is, by the way, I'm a real estate agent. If you need to buy or sell a house, let me know, right? These are not promotional. But what's remarkable about this is that these videos will get you business. We had a student tell us a story where she got a $3.2 million listing because she had sent somebody a happy birthday video message a few weeks earlier. That's crazy, right? Why does that happen? Why would that work, right? She didn't say she was a real estate agent in that video. It's because of mind share, okay? All we do in real estate is we're trying to build relationships. We're trying to get people to know, like, and trust us. And then when they decide they need to sell their house, we can't get people to sell their house if they don't want to, right? That's not the point of this industry. So when they decide they're ready to move, we just need to be the first agent they think of, right? If we can be the first agent they think of, we're going to get the business. So what does a birthday video do? It gets you in their head, right? It shows that you care about them. It shows that there's a relationship there, and that's going to make it a lot more likely they think of you when they decide to move, right? So keep that in mind. That's all we're doing. The other thing it's going to do is that you can send a whole bunch of happy birthday videos very quickly over the course of a few weeks, right? So part of why I asked that question at the beginning of, are you making videos every month, is that as you leave this webinar from here forward, you should be, right? Because you should be sending happy birthday videos at least a few times a week. Maybe there's a lot of people you're not Facebook friends with, or maybe you just don't want to send them to everybody you're connected to. That's all fine, but at least a few a week, right? That should not be hard to do. You're going to get the reps in, and these are the small weights, right? You're going to get fit very quickly. You're going to get used to doing these things very efficiently. And then you can move on to all these other kinds of video messages. So things like asking for referrals. One of my favorites is client transaction updates. You know, anytime something is complicated or maybe emotional in some form, I can send an update through a video, right? I'm going to be able to show my emotion. I'm going to be able to share in the experience with that recipient. Use video to convert leads, right? I mean, you see this example here. I'm holding up a board that says, "Hi, Susan." If you use these tools, like for instance, Vidyard, what that's going to do is it's going to create a preview of the beginning of your video. So the first few seconds of your video are going to show up as a little preview inside the email or the text. And if you include somebody's name in that preview in the first few seconds, why I like to hold up, show it right here, hold up my little whiteboard, right? Kind of got that going. That's going to show that the video was made just for them, right? It's very clear that this video is not intended for a wide audience. It was meant just for, in this case, Susan, right? And well, maybe there could be multiple Susans, right? But you're only going to use it when the person's name is Susan. So in that case, they're going to see it's just for them. They're going to click on it. They're going to be a lot more likely to watch it, right? So there's a lot of different ways to send these video messages, but that's the idea. We're going to start simple and we're going to build from there, right? So a couple quick case studies. The personal case study, it's honestly a little dated at this point, but I like to talk about the fact that when I got engaged last year, we recorded a video, my fiance and I did, and we shared that with all our family and friends. And what was really cool about that is that they all got to feel like they were part of it. What's also cool about it is I didn't have to call all of them, and I don't mind doing that necessarily, but it was going to take a lot of time. And I had already had people giving me trouble about calling them first versus everybody else. So I was like, I don't want to deal with the drama there, right? So we sent everybody the video at the same time, and we actually got some video responses from a few of them, which I thought was really, really cool. So that's one example. Figure ways to use this in your personal life, right? It's a great way to practice. And I mean, think about, like, you have a relative that's isolated maybe, or, you know, an elderly relative that doesn't get a lot of visitors. Shoot them a 30-second video message and you'll make their week, right? I mean, that can be really, really very cool to do for somebody. The other side of the coin, though, the more important one is the business case, right? So this is Carla. Carla sent 75 personalized video text messages to people in her SOI, right? Not necessarily leads. Some were older leads, some were friends, family, stuff like that. What she said was basically, hey, are you thinking about selling your house? It was much more well-polished than that, but that's what she was basically saying, right? Here's what's insane to me, right? 7 listing appointments, pretty darn good. 75 people, about 10% set up a listing appointment with her within the first 2 days. I'd say that's a pretty good conversion on those members of her SOI. They're not even leads, right? People don't normally convert 10% of their leads even, right? But 10% set a listing appointment, 1 canceled. She did 6. 2 of them signed up immediately. The other 4 all wanted to move. They all wanted to work with her. They just weren't moving yet, okay? Here's the part that blew my mind, though. So she's making probably tens of thousands of dollars off of about 2 hours worth of outreach effort because she used video, right? The crazy part to me, though, is not that. It's that about half of those people that she texted, about 30 or so, responded, did not need to sell their house. But here's the crazy part, said, hey, we're going to see if we can help you find somebody who is. I'm going to ask my family and friends. Some of them asked, can I share this video with them, right? crazy that the 30 people out of 75 were trying to offer to help her promote her business after she sent them an advertisement. Okay. That's crazy to me. Like, that's the power of video, because it felt more intimate, right? It wasn't a form email. It was a form video. It was the same video for every single person, but it was a message where they felt like they were talking to her, right? It had more impact. It was more meaningful. She came across as her bubbly, friendly self that people would want to work with. And imagine if somebody forwards that video to a family or friend. Now that person that you don't know feels like they know you, right? Now they think you sound like a friendly, cool person that they're looking forward to working with, and you've never met them. Okay. I mean, this stuff is just so incredibly powerful. You just have to use it, right? So when we start here, we're going to get a lot of benefits, right? We're going to learn to use video. We're going to get our practice in. I think that's the number one reason to start here. But we're also going to get business. I mean, I'll tell you right now, if all you did for the next year when it comes to video was send happy birthday video messages, you will get a meaningful amount of business as a result. Because again, it's about relationships, right? We're not necessarily, I mean, we treat people like leads way too much. We should treat them like people we want to get to know better. And that's going to help us build that relationship with them. All right. Okay. Next, what I'm going to do here, and let me check the to chat here. Fancy merge field on your display somehow. Oh, okay. So let's keep going here. So what I want to talk about next is indoor lighting. And then I also want to talk a little bit about audio. I'm going to keep this really simple for you. And you may have heard these tips if you've ever seen my presentations before, because I talk about it a lot. Primarily what you need to keep in mind here, the light needs to be in front of you. All right. It needs to be shining this way, not from above. Okay. That first picture is what you get when you shine it from above. All right. That is me standing underneath a ceiling fan. The light is shining down over my head and it's casting shadows on my face. All right. The second one is me standing in front of a window on a cloudy day even, all right? The blinds are closed, it's cloudy, but that's the ambient light from outside. And because it's in front of me, it's a lot more flattering. I look a lot better, okay? That's it. You just got to think about that the next time you record your video is, where is the source of light? And can I put it myself in a position where that light is in front of me and the camera is between me and the light, or the light is to either side of the camera, right? If you situate it that way, you're going to look a lot better on camera, all right? And then audio, the next one I want to talk about for a second. There's also some really sort of simple things you can do here. The main one is just making sure you're not in a noisy space. I mean, duh, right? But it's a little bit harder when you're in your home or office, because you may not be hearing the sounds that the person on the other end of the camera will, right? I mean, maybe there's, the dog barking and you just have learned to tune it out, right? Or there's some the air conditioner runs and makes a lot of noise, but you don't hear it anymore, right? So think about that kind of stuff. Maybe record a short sample video and see if you hear any background noise, especially if you're outside. Background noise can be really bad, and a lot of times people sort of overlook it. The other thing is to not be too far from your recording device. So as long as you're about 5 feet or so within about 5 feet of the recording device, you should be good. It's going to get you nice, clean audio, and you shouldn't have to worry. One other thing to think about is the room you're in and the surfaces in that room. If you have carpet, if you have big plush couches, if you have drapes, things like that, curtains, that's going to dampen the echo. And that can be one of the problems you run into when you're making video, is your voice is reverberating off the walls and it's picking up that echo into the microphone, right? So that's one way to reduce that potentially happening. All right, moving on here, we're going to start talking about strategy number 2. And I'm actually going to just edit this slide while I'm doing this, because I've been meaning to do this for quite a while. So let me just change what this says real quick. All right, so this one is scaling yourself with video. Now, the idea here is there's only one of you, right? I assume. Maybe you're an identical twin, but there's still only technically one of you, right? Unless you've been cloned somehow. And so what this is going to allow you to do is to sort of clone yourself, which is pretty cool. So if the human brain sees a video in many ways as a face-to-face conversation, that means that as often as I can make a recording of anything I would have had a face-to-face conversation around, the person who watches that is going to feel a lot like they were talking to me, right? Why that is helpful is that now I can start to look at, where am I repeating myself, right? Where am I saying the same thing over and over again in such a way that I can make a video of that particular answer, or of that particular topic, or of that particular training, whatever it might be, right? I take that, I create that content. Now, here's what you got to think about. I'm not replacing myself. Okay. So that's part of why I want to make sure it's to scale yourself with video, right? What I'm doing here is I'm giving that person the information they need, and I'm opening up my time to then answer their questions. That's the way to think about this. Okay. So it's not that you're trying to find, oh, I'm going to make a bunch of videos of myself and then I'm never going to talk to my clients again. No. In fact, you're going to talk to your clients probably about the same amount of time. You're going to have better conversations though, right? So now you've got your FAQs, whatever those most commonly asked questions are. Now I can send those to someone as soon as they register to talk to me, right? I can start to have that conversation with them right away. And when they come in to talk to me, now I can answer their follow-up questions, right? They're going to be better informed. This is the kind of stuff they can share with their family and friends. It's going to save me time. It's going to save them ultimately time. They're going to be better educated overall. And think about how many times you've answered a question for somebody where you kind of gave them an off-the-cuff response versus now I can sit down and really think through exactly what I want to say about that topic. I can make sure that all of that is well thought out and well delivered in that video. And now every single person I work with gets that answer, not my half-baked answer when I'm in the middle of a showing with another client and they call me, right? That kind of stuff. So that's what we're doing here. So recording trainings, recording FAQ videos, just anything you can think of where you're having the same conversation or saying the same things on a relatively frequent basis. All right. Now, how do you record these? What does this process look like? So here's the idea. If we've been sending video messages for a while, that's why we do it in this order, you're not going to be as nervous on camera. You're going to feel pretty confident and pretty comfortable about your ability to talk into a camera and deliver a message. So that's out of the way. We don't have to worry about that anymore. Now we're focused more on what is it we're doing to create the video? What does that process look like? There are a lot of tools you can use. You can use Vidyard. You can use Big View as a teleprompter app. I do highly recommend. You can use Zoom. That's certainly a viable tool. But what you're going to want to keep in mind here is you're probably going to want to have these scripted. So I do highly recommend that you use that tool, Big View. There's also PromptSmart Pro if you want a different teleprompter. But the key here, the thing you have to really understand is you have to practice. So what I want you to do is I want you to take that script that you write. I want you to read it at least 3 times, maybe 4, 5, 6 times before you actually record your video, and then sit down and record it using the teleprompter. You can do a few different takes, if you want to get a couple versions of it. But if you have a familiarity with the script ahead of time, you're going to deliver the message in a way that does not sound scripted. That's something a lot of people have trouble with when they get to teleprompters. They try to make something and it sounds really formal, and it's really sort of, it sounds scripted, right? And that's the reason, is that they're literally reading it. They're not just using the script as a reminder as they then deliver their lines into the camera, right? So that's one way you can sort of help to make that as effective as possible and make the best possible video. Then on the editing side, this is a big one, all right? What you want to remember here is if you like the idea of being a part-time videographer, if making videos, if editing videos in particular sounds like fun, then you can go ahead and learn to edit this stuff yourself. Go for it. If it is not fun, if that doesn't sound like a fun hobby, then pay someone to edit these videos. You do not need to edit them yourself. I don't understand when we have students, we teach them how to do the editing. I still understand why more people aren't just paying people to edit their videos, paying an editor to take care of it, because there are lots of cases where I've seen videos sit on someone's computer for months, sometimes years, and they're done, other than the fact that just didn't get to the editing yet because they don't want to do it and it's a pain. So just hire somebody to do it. Okay. So just kind of get through that. So all right, now we're at the end here of the second strategy. Let's talk about the benefits a little bit. We obviously know this is going to save time. We know this is going to increase the respect for the business as well. So what does that mean? Well, think about what clients, think about referrals. Why do referrals happen? Well, they happen if you ask for them. So you should certainly be asking for referrals when you can. But they happen when somebody is impressed, right? When they're wowed by your service. And the way to think about this is that the way what leads to someone deciding on their own to refer you is that they think you're going to make them look good, right? That's the thing to remember. So in order for me to refer your business, I need to think, hey, if I make this introduction and they end up working with this realtor I know, I'm going to look better as a result because they're that good at what they do. Making videos, having all your FAQs, having your process videos, all this kind of stuff is going to make that a lot more likely, because not only am I going to be impressed by the way you're communicating with me and how much my questions you're addressing in pre-recorded videos before I've even had to ask them, but I can share those videos with my family or friends. So when I am impressed by you and my friend is talking about how they're not sure how much of a down payment they need for their house because they haven't gotten started yet, right? They're saving, but they haven't started talking to an agent or a lender. Well, that person can then share your video about how to think about the down payment, how much money you're saving. And guess what? They're thinking of you as their agent now, right? So that's how powerful this stuff can be. And then ultimately you can use it to convert leads as well. All right, so I just got a little bit more advice here about making videos. Obviously, there's still 2 strategies to go over, and we'll get to those in just another minute or 2 here. But I do want to talk about this particular challenge, which is how can I be more compelling on camera, which basically means how do I come across as friendly and inviting and warm and somebody that the viewer would be excited to work with versus coming across as stiff and formulaic and awkward, right? The thing is, you want to come across as yourself. So if you are a stiff person, or if you tend to be a little bit, sort of be straight back, all that kind of stuff, you're a little bit more down to the facts, be that person on camera. Don't be afraid to represent who you are. But there is still a difference between doing that in a way that makes you feel confident, makes you feel comfortable, and doing it in a way that comes across as rigid, right? So there are some tips I have for you. You don't have to do all these. Obviously, just sort of pick the ones you want or where you think they're the most important. The first is to plan and practice. Duh, right? I mean, this is the kind of stuff where, of course, you're going to plan and practice. However, a lot of people don't. They just dive right in, and this kind of stuff where it's worth repeating because you can easily overlook it. So if you have a script, it's very tempting to just sit down and start reading that script into a camera right away. But what you should do is you should look it over. You should review it. You should practice a few times. And if you do that, you're going to obviously record a much better video, right? So 10 minutes, 5 minutes of rehearsing is going to mean a much cleaner, much more polished version of one of these videos. Start and end with a smile. Again, sort of a duh one, right? I mean, obviously we should try to be friendly. So ending and starting with a smile is very logical. However, it's a lot easier, it's a lot harder to do than you would think. So it's worth practicing. The one in particular that's hard is the one where you end on a smile. And I will say this, it's not the end of the world if you don't smile at the end of a video, but it can take people out of the viewing experience, right? Because if you got somebody and they're being all friendly and exciting, and all of a sudden they go back to that solemn looking, call it like bitchy resting face. I definitely have that problem. That's a weird experience, right? So, oh, this person is really cool. Wait a second. What happened at the end of the video there? They got like depressed all of a sudden, right? So I say that a little bit from firsthand experience, but it's worth just doing some exercises to kind of practice that part. Now, the last 2, voice inflection and body language. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to give you a little bit of an exercise that you can try, all right? You decide how much of this you want to do, all the voice inflection, body language, all that kind of stuff. Here's what I recommend. Ultimately, what it comes down to is you just need to try being over the top at some point. You need to try being more than you think you should be. So here's my example. What I would do is I would take a 1-sentence script, make it up, doesn't matter what it is, right? Say something like, I'm the best real estate agent in the world, right? That's it. We're going to say that one line into the camera. We're going to record it. The second time, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to record it again. I'm going to try to double my enthusiasm. So if I said, I'm the best real estate agent in the world, the second time I'm going to go, I'm the best real estate agent in the world, right? And try to be a little bit more over the top, a little bit more ridiculous. The third time, I want you to give me your best Billy Mays impersonation, right? So I don't know if you remember Billy Mays and the OxyClean commercials and all that kind of stuff, but we're talking high energy infomercial. And I want you to be ridiculous. And then the thing I want you to do is I want you to go back and watch all 3 and see which one you like the best. I'm not going to tell you which it's going to be, but you may be surprised which one it ends up being. All right. So that's something you can try as a bit of a practice, a little bit of an exercise, and you're going to dial in your inflection and your body language a lot quicker doing that than me telling you how to do it. Okay, so looking at this slide here, we do have 2 strategies left. I want you to take a quick second and pull your phone out. I'm going to walk you through how to do this real quick, and then we'll finish up the training for today. What I want you to do is open up your camera on your phone, go to the photo setting, and simply point it at the screen. Obviously, you want to make sure you have the right camera, the back camera turned on. But if you point it at the screen, you should see a URL pop up on the screen of your phone. Okay, it shouldn't matter if it's Android or iPhone. If you click on that URL, it's going to take you over to our free mini course. So I want to make sure you knew how to do that so you can start filling it out right now. Do it now. Don't wait till later, because if you're like me, you'll just forget and we won't ever come back to it. But here's what you get if you do sign up for this. 14 days of free video lessons from our entire Business Video School team. So this is not just me. It's lessons from all of us. And what you're going to see is a range of different types of video skills. So some of the stuff I sort of peppered into today's presentation, you're going to see much more in depth on those topics. So you're going to see things like how to get more comfortable on camera, little additional exercises you can do, how to control your lighting, how to control audio, how to go live on social media. One of my favorites is how to get really smooth shots of a home with just a phone, right? So next time you go to do a little listing video, you're going to have some advice on how to make sure those shots turn out nice and clean. So that's just some examples. The way it works is you're going to get 1 email per day for 14 days. I know it's a lot of emails, but we do that because you're going to get 1 per morning, and the videos are like 60 seconds up to maybe a couple minutes. So it's kind of thing you can watch heck, while you're brushing your teeth, or while you're getting breakfast ready, or that kind of stuff, right? So really, really useful tips, but they are short, and it's a great way to kind of jumpstart your video efforts. All right, so we're going to move on here to the final 2. So if you're on a smartphone at the moment, how can we sign up? Let me see here real quick. I'm going to see if I can't grab you a link from my computer. Just give me just a second here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a link to our website with all of our free offers. So I'm going to put this in the chat right now. This link will take you to a page on our site with all kinds of free stuff. So it's not just that course, but it's got other things as well. So you can check that out. So you should be able to sign up for the mini course there, but there's other things if you want to get those too. Okay, strategy number 3 here. So here's the thing. At this point, we are sending video messages. We have optimized our business with video. We've sort of replaced ourselves or made a copy of ourselves wherever we can. When are we going to start dancing on TikTok, right? Because this one doesn't look like that. And that's true. This is not social media yet. So at strategy number 3, at this point, what we're doing is we're building an advertising funnel. And the idea here is we have 3 levels. We have awareness, consideration, and conversion. What we do is we create a video for awareness where we're basically introducing ourselves. I love community videos. So something like a little behind the scenes at my favorite local restaurant type of video, or something simpler. It could just be me talking to the camera about my 3 favorite restaurants in town. That's kind of an example of a community video. Then consideration. Consideration is showing people a little bit about who you are and what you do so they can start to think about hiring you. And then conversion is inviting them to take that step, right? Sign up, opt in, whatever that might look, schedule a meeting, that kind of stuff. And what we're going to do is we're going to show these videos to our ideal client in the order they were created, right? In the order they're meant to be received. So awareness first, the people that watch that, then will be shown the consideration video, and only the people that watch that will see the conversion video. You can do this with ads. You can also do this with email marketing. So depending on how you get your leads or where your audience is, that's what you're going to do. What this will allow you to do is it's going to allow you to start to attract new leads directly yourself. Now, you can use a third-party tool if you have an advertising platform you work with, but it's really important that you follow this structure, these 3 tiers, right? And if you do that, what that's going to create for you is an automatic lead gen funnel. You're going to have people getting to know your business, discovering you, getting to know you, and opting in. And by the time they do, being essentially ready to work with you, which is really cool. Now, I do recommend at this point thinking about hiring an actual videographer, because if you hire a videographer, you're going to get some nice videos, right? You are good on camera at this point. You've done those other 2 strategies and you're continuing to do them. So that's not the concern anymore. You're not worried about, oh, is it going to be worth spending the money because I'm not that good on camera? At this point, you are good on camera. And if you hire a videographer, you're going to get your videos. They're going to be really polished. You're going to be able to use them for years. And these are videos that are probably going to be seen by at least thousands, if not tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people over the subsequent months and years, because you're going to use them for a long time. So hiring a videographer, working with a pro at this point can be quite helpful. It's not necessary, but it's certainly helpful. Now, at this point, I want you to think about this for just a second. What does our business look like if we implement these three strategies? We've got a funnel that's putting us in front of new people. It's attracting those new people into our database. When they get to our database, they're going to start receiving video messages from us. They're going to start to see our pre-recorded FAQ videos. As they get to know us better and they opt in, they're going to continue getting video messages from us. And then eventually they're going to feel like, hey, this company is amazing. This agent's awesome. I can't wait to work with them. And they're going to sign up. My question for you at this point is, do you need to do anything else with video? I mean, think about it for a second, right? I mean, you've got video ads, you've got video messaging, your FAQ videos, you're sort of scaling yourself with video. If you're getting enough leads from the ads, do you need to dance on TikTok, right? Do you need to build a YouTube channel? And I'm going to challenge you and say, most cases, no, you don't, right? I mean, that's the bodybuilder. Building the YouTube channel is getting into the bodybuilding competition in a certain sense. Most of us don't need to be in a bodybuilding contest, right? Even if we do want to build some muscle, we only need to get so far up that mountain, so to speak. We don't necessarily have to get to the top. So this is what's fascinating to me, is that anytime I hear from agents, a lot of them always say they're going to start with this strategy, which is the fourth of the strategies, not the first, and that is social media. Now, I have it in here because I do think a lot of us can and should eventually get to social media. But I don't know that we need to have everybody making social media videos. In fact, if we did, there'd be so many videos on social media, we would never see any of them, right? Your videos would get 10 views. In fact, we're already starting to see that problem. If you're not making really interesting, really engaging content for social media, you're not getting that many views, So that's why we end here, because at this point, we are good on camera. We know how to make good content. We know what to do. We can control our lighting, our audio, all that stuff. We probably even built a little bit of an audience with the ads that we've already been showing. And so now I can start to experiment, because social media is definitely an experiment. Everybody's going to be different. Everybody's, ideal client, ideal content, therefore, is different. So we need to make sure that we understand what we're doing before we get here. If you do it in this order, you're going to probably have a pretty clear idea of the kinds of videos you should be making to attract the right kind of customer. But if you jump here first, no wonder so many people are overwhelmed. It's also the reason a lot of people have waited to start video, because they saw this as the only kind of video they knew how to do, or that they were aware existed, right? Well, the reality is there's all these other forms that are much easier to get started with. And if you had started there, you could have gotten here eventually, but already been pretty comfortable and confident, right? So that's just stuff to keep in mind here. You can do whatever you want, but in some cases, in a lot of cases, I'm going to say most businesses don't necessarily need to be trying to build large social followings. Last thing I'm going to talk about here, and then we'll get to seeing if there's any questions and otherwise get wrapped up, is what do I make my content about when it comes to social media? Here's what I personally recommend. I recommend doing community-focused content that features or is about things in the community that other people are going to have an existing awareness of, all right? This is the thing I got wrong. When I first started this, I thought the idea of creating social media content was about showing people stuff they'd never seen before. Curiosity, right? I want to see new things. Turned out I was wrong. What they wanted to see, and we've seen that pretty clearly now, is people want to go on social media and see things that they already like, things they have already decided they have a positive feeling toward. If we show them those things, that feeling translates to us. So think about that. So if I go to this was, I think, the Collinsville Italian Fest, all Italian food. So I go to this thing and I make a video about it. Anybody who's been to it that sees that is going to go, oh, I've been to that festival before. That's really cool. Who is this guy? Who's this Nick guy? I should follow him. He seems to like a lot of the same things I do. That's exactly what we're going for. So that's what I recommend, is try to focus on making content that features community, that features things that are happening in the markets where you want to do business. They can be that elaborate. Like the second one there is an example of a story. I'll just play that one again so you can kind of see how stupid it is. It's just me like holding up an old antique vase. And then my girlfriend at the time, wife now, showed the hallway there with a bunch of other antiques in it, right? I had people reach out to me about that stupid 6-second story video because they either liked antique shopping or had literally been to that antique store before. That's the idea. That's what we're going for. So that was sort of just a random day. I'm not actually trying to attract customers that are into antique shopping necessarily, although I do talk about food a lot in my content because I love to cook and I love to eat. So that's one I do like to highlight quite a bit. But that's the idea. I just want to make sure that I'm focused on content that is this community focused, that's showing people things in the community where they live that they already like. And if I do a good job of that, they're going to get to know me better and they're going to automatically like me because I'm showing things they already feel that way toward. That's the idea. All right, so summing all this back up, and then if you do have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. So if you want to start dropping those in the chat, if you do have any questions. But the 4 strategies, and again, in the order in which you should implement them, and they do not replace each other, they build on each other. Those 4 strategies are, number 1, sending one-to-one video messages. 2 then becomes building business efficiency. I'm gonna edit this while I'm here. So scaling myself with video. Let me just go ahead and replace that real quick. Number 3 is build a marketing funnel, right? Build that advertising funnel. It's going to attract new customers into your business on a consistent basis. And then finally, and only when those other 3 are fully implemented and up and running and producing probably substantially more business than you're currently able to produce with your current marketing efforts, only then do you add the social media. If you do it in that order, when these people start to discover you on social media, your ad funnel pulls them in and the content they see inside of your business convinces them that they made the right decision. That's how it should work. Otherwise, you're building a big following on social media without any of the other stuff in place that's going to pull those people into your business. And the truth is, when you build a social following, you do not control that audience. They can ban you. The platform might go under. There's all kinds of things that are quite risky when you just try to simply build a social audience, but you don't have control of that audience. So if you do these other things first, you're gonna be capturing the contact information of the people who are discovering you. And then that's a way to control the audience, right? If you have their email, you can always contact them. If they're just a follower on social media, they may not even see your posts. That's up to the social media platform. So keep that in mind. All right, that's all I have for you here today. I do have this QR code here on the screen if you want. This will take you to our free offers page, which is the one that I actually put the link for in the chat just a few minutes back. So there are additional options. So if that mini course wasn't the right fit, but you want an equipment guide, or you want our TikTok checklist, or Tristan's 12-month SOI guide, I believe is on there too. Scan that second code or use the link in the chat, and you can check out the rest of the stuff on our site. All right, so I have not seen any additional questions come through on the chat, so I think we're good to go here. So to wrap things up, just want to say thank you so much for being here. Again, my name is Nick Niehaus, the co-founder and head trainer of Business Video School. Check us out at bizvideoschool.com. Obviously, if you signed up for one of our downloadables over time, you'll hear a little bit more about us. But if you do want to learn more about our school and how you can get involved and how we can help you learn to utilize video in your business, just go to bizvideoschool.com. You can learn more there. And then we also try to host at least one of these sessions every month here inside of LabCoatAgents. So hopefully I'll see you again on the next one. Thank you so much for being here, and have a great rest of your week. I'll talk to you later.